Well, welcome everyone. Thank you for coming. I'm really excited about this talk. Before I begin, we're going to start a little bit with me telling you about who I am, where I come from, my company. We'll move on to the core business need that started this concept for us. We'll talk about Odoo standards and possibly where we need to expand these standards with customizations or other modules. And we'll obviously go through the process management. Just because you make a customization doesn't mean it just works. People need to learn how to set it up, and then how does it influence your day-to-day workflows. And then I also want to expand this concept because I also see huge potential how it could be used in other apps, for example. And then I'll summarize everything real quick, and then you'll have roughly 10 minutes to ask questions. So, who am I? I'm an ERP consultant. We're based in Munich, and I work with medtech clients, manufacturing clients, service providers, and etc. And they come to us when out of the box, either Odoo is not clear enough or it needs expansion for them, because as you know, Odoo is open source and it gives us this great flexibility, and where they need support, we have this in-house team where we support these clients. And I mainly focus on building data structures within Odoo, how these different data models within Odoo interact with each other to give you what you need, basically. And my company, Much Consulting, we're basically a consulting company based in Munich, and we've also expanded to Portugal and England. We have more than 80 people comprised of consultants, managers, and engineers. So we have our in-house developer team in case you need modules, and we've implemented Odoo all around the world. And we basically like to provide people from the start to long-term maintenance, everything they need in one big package. And if you're one of those people who like to skip a slide back and forth, don't worry, I'll give you now 30 seconds to scan this QR code and download the slides. You can do so now, but if you just want to have it for later as well, I will show this QR code again later. I've been told we won't spam you with emails, and I trust my colleagues, but we just ask a few questions, like because we had the pleasure of having more than 10 talks this year at the Odoo Expo, you basically get to say, hey, I joined from this talk, and we just ask a few questions, and then you'll get the slides. So, before I get into the details, why are we here today? We want to talk about a feature which is basically an over-glorified share button, where we want to select specific records, not all records from a model, with specific users, not everyone in a specific role, and we want to be able to manage it. For example, we let somebody go, we want to be able to remove their access rights in a convenient way to reduce manual effort. And when we share something with someone, we don't want this to be like, hey, I downloaded a file, maybe I edited it, I send it to you back. We want this to seamlessly integrate into the Odoo UI that you already have. So let's start with Odoo standards. Odoo standards is already out of the box with very nice features, and you can modify these access rights basically in 3 dimensions, right? You can, and especially in a multi-company setting, you can, and maybe quick summary, a multi-company is basically when multiple companies of yours uses the same setup, but is basically like onion layers, and the records from your own company are basically only shown to you unless you're someone who works in both companies. Then you can see 2 of those companies just merged together in one single UI instead of skipping back and forth. And on each record, you can define if it belongs to a specific company, or if you leave it empty, it belongs to all companies. And when you see things, what determines what you can do with these records is your access roles. For example, are you a sales admin? Are you a sales user? And so forth. Whether you can read, delete, edit files, etc. Now, how does this look like? For example, I'm a sales admin, a CRM admin in Germany. And I also work sometimes in the US. But I'm not allowed to see our sibling company in China. So based on my group roles, what I can do is basically identical in these multi-companies. And based on your needs, you might have this need that, okay, maybe I shouldn't be able to edit things in the US market. Then there's some really nice marketplace solutions that already cover this, and it can give me different access roles, right? But where do we want to expand this? We want to expand this in such a way that I can maybe also only see our Chinese leads and contacts. Maybe they've already approached a client that we're planning on approaching, a lead. And I want to learn from them, right? That's the main goal of today. And where did this all start? Where did we get this idea? A client of mine approached me with the following use case, right? They had multiple companies all around the world, and the request was, hey, we have our sales admin in China. We would like them to see our contacts and leads. Our current workflow consists of us removing this company restriction from the contact, but then every employee they have in China sees it, which is something they don't want. So when I get a request as a consultant, I obviously have to extract a bit because the solution also comes a little predefined, and maybe that's not the ideal solution. Otherwise, I would be their implementation even, not their consultant. So on a meta level, let's visualize this. When does this need arise? You're a multinational or multi-regional sales team, and you store relevant information on contacts, your internal communication, as well as external communication, if you use log notes for it, documentation, attachments, anything that's relevant to you. And you're in such a setting where you don't, for example, in this case, exchange through some other format information regularly between your companies. So it's kind of a, you know they exist, but it's kind of a fog of war. You don't see everything. In an ideal world, you would be able to see everything you need at the right time and just the right amount, right? And what's the added business value here? That you possibly don't approach the same customer twice, not just for the customer's dissatisfaction, but you're also losing time. Let's say it's a lost cause. Maybe it doesn't work, right? And another case you can make is, hey, our European counterparts are working together, our sibling companies. Why don't we expand that collaboration to the US market? And like I said, it doesn't just have to be a product incompatibility. For example, they invested 7 days of like back and forth just to figure out, oh, our product line A doesn't fit for you. Then we have to think about product line B. Why do you have to spend another 7 days for this, right? You can just do a little quick search and realize, look at all this information in 50 minutes, and you already have a jump start. And unfortunately, it's not always possible to share everything with everyone, as you know, and it's usually due to data privacy laws or secrecy, or NDAs. For example, in Germany, in the medical industry, it's very hard to share people's data. And you could, or legal counsel, where you can disclose information is obviously strict. So you can already see like how this can expand into other branches. So why in this case aren't we just saying, hey, there are nice marketplace solutions, why isn't this enough for you? Because, and I've tested this as a possible solution, when you do give these group roles maybe less than your original company, your main company, even if you reduce all the group rights that come out of the box, it's not zero. So you cannot build up again from zero, which means you have to trim further down. And you could technically do everything pretty much through group roles, but it could get complicated based on your needs. So instead of doing that very complicated route, we were trying to find a solution that basically allowed you to do it in a more simpler way. So on a technical level, to do this, what we need to achieve is granularity and access rights. Under granularity, I mean sharing with individuals, specific individuals, sharing specific records, and do it in such a way that allows us to automate this, because depending on the scale, and assuming that it's going to be a larger company when you're a multi-company setup, because Odoo's out-of-the-box setup is rightfully so oriented towards small to medium-sized businesses, and this is more of a larger context. You don't want to do this always manually, and want to do it in such a way that allows you to build further automations. And you also have to think about what sort of access rights does this person get if they see a record through this feature, right? Read-only is very straightforward. They're allowed to see it, they're not allowed to touch. But the moment you go into edit and delete, you might have to invest time towards this, because even if you're seeing a contacts page, some field on there might be from a different model. So you might think, okay, I'm going to let this person who sees this through this feature edit this. But the moment you edit that field, you're technically editing something or creating something in another field. So you have to, that is a more complex thing, but if you need it, that can also be looked into. So the point where we started is technical development. What do we need to add to the code? So because this main restriction begins at the, most form views have this company field where you can restrict it to one company, but you can't select 2 out of 3. It's either empty, which means for all, or for one. So we thought it was very relevant to put our new field right under it. And let's say John Doe and Jennifer Smith are from our second sibling company, and they need to see what's on this record. And once we add their names here, these records are also shown on their existing Kanban views, list views, and etc. And they can also filter by company if they need to, or set their default filters to not include this company unless they remove it, if they rarely need it. And obviously, when you don't want to let them modify it, always adding a small warning message, say, hey, do not touch this. You're not from this company. You're just seeing this, is always a nice addition to reduce confusion. Okay, we set it up technically. We need, from a team lead or a management perspective, we need to kind of figure out two things. When you're implementing change, it's the data that you have and the new incoming ones. It's like pool. You're trying to clean a pool. You have to fix both. If there's new polluted water coming in, you're never going to fix your main pool. So the way you could already start it with your existing setup is basically either manual, if it's a small edge cases where you're working on a specific project with your sibling company or lead, or export, import, and you could do all sorts of Excel magic. I don't want to teach you Excel magic. I'm pretty sure most of you already know it pretty better than I do. But once we cleaned up our pool and set it up, what about the incoming ones? The most basic one is default values. For example, should the sales admin in China always see every contact we have? Then default values. Every contact that gets created has John Doe and Jennifer Smith added to it. But if you want more conditionality, like, for example, our Chinese sales admin should only see our contacts if their country is Germany and their tag is B2B, then with automation rules you can set this up. And obviously, if you want more complex combinations, or for example, if the base information you need for your decision is externally somewhere else in another system, you could build APIs. So we've set it up. What does this look like from a day-to-day perspective from someone who uses it? Obviously, when you follow leads in this example or opportunities, you do preliminary research, right? And instead of repeating, like I said, everything your sibling companies did, you basically go into Odoo. Hey, we're going to approach Ice Cream Incorporated. You just search it up, see if we have any contacts or existing communication with the client, and you study their past interactions, past mistakes, identify any incompatibilities early, and note past preferences. For example, the person we're supposed to set up a meet with only prefers morning meetings, right? So, and I know from personal experience, I've lost so many days to setting up meetings because we all had busy schedules. And the way you would execute after this preliminary research, adjust your approach accordingly with more information so you can make a better approach, or you can simply decide, hey, the next lead is more attractive. I'm going to be more efficient and move on to that one, which you wouldn't have done better with less information. And as I said, I also want to give two examples to additional fields because it might also be relevant and interesting for you. The manufacturing industry, for example. Let's imagine the scenario. You're a production company, and your sibling company manufactures components for you. And your production manager regularly has to go to your sibling company's production manager and ask, hey, how are our components doing? I know you're busy with your other clients, but he needs to send an email once a week. Why can't why can't this be shown to our production manager already? For example, when the manufacturing orders project's customer is us. Why can't we automatically see it? It's already on the same system. And we could also look up quality checks for our manufacturing components, which ideally, I mean, not ideally, but depending on the case, are not always shown to the customer if there are any failed quality checks, because you fix them afterwards. Sorry. The next example is, we're in the service industry, we're organizing an event like this, and we have a sibling company that does the cleanup afterwards. In a Kanban stage, could also be applicable to your opportunities and leads. If it enters a specific stage, the cleanup crew's team lead gets attached so he can see the tasks with the relevant information for them without having to overshare. And obviously, when you exit the stage, you could also remove them automatically. Again, less manual effort. But the key takeaway that I wanted to give here is, to just sum it up, is we had this use case of we need to share this very specific information with someone very specific without oversharing due to X, Y, Z reasons. Our solution allows you in a multi-company setting to share things with a specific person and remove it on need without collaterally oversharing, and in such a way that we can further automate or customize this process. And in our case, it would look like this. And as a summary, why are we extending the access rights options? Granular sharing options would help you out, and having the right information makes you save time, make better decisions, and the information is already there. We want to reduce repetitive and manual effort. And our recommendation always is, we generally really like the solutions from Odoo. Try to stay standard. Just because this looks fancy, do not go into this. Really consider your standard options. Because long-term, Odoo does take care of the standard options they offer you. And marketplace solutions are also nice, because you don't have to invest as much. They're not tailor-made for you, but they solve your problem. But if those also don't work, then this could be a very nice solution for you, and that is a part of our consulting process, where we love to help you out. Make these decisions better, because they don't just have short-term consequences, maintenance-wise, effectiveness-wise, they also have long-term consequences which you might not be aware of, but we might be able to give you the information, data, and overview to make well-informed decisions, not just for your day-to-day processes, but how you keep using Odoo like you would maintain your car or any equipment that you have. Well, thank you. That was very quick. That was a lot quicker than I expected. But again, for the slides, you can scan the QR codes, not just for your sales and CRM opportunities, but also for your colleagues who might also be needing this in Odoo somewhere else. I'll give you a few seconds, and then we can move on to the Q&A. And thank you. If I see one more gentleman taking the picture of the QR code, and if you have more questions and say, hey, I have this concept and business need, you can come to our booth. We're in Hall 10, booth C1. We're very orange. You won't miss us. Across all the purple, we kind of stand out. But yeah, if you have more questions and want to just talk about it or need general support, you're more than welcome to join us. We can skip to the thing. So for your questions, if you want to send them now, we have about 5 minutes. I can answer them right here. Also with this new QR code. Hi.
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 We have one question here. What are the biggest challenges you faced in your multi-company implementation?
The multi-company implementation, the biggest challenge we faced where we had to do a few revisions is we basically modified the domain rules, which decides, for those of you who don't know, they decide who can see what in like a database. And it's such a web and a complex structure that basically you have to be careful when modifying it. So we wanted to be, that was the hardest bit, where we had to find like such a method that pierced through all of these layers without messing up the existing roles or access rights structure. And we were able to do this in this pinpoint precision, and I think that was the biggest challenge, and that's where you need to be really careful, especially if you go into adding, edit, or delete rights. With read-only, we thought, okay, this is clean. Is this enough for the customer? Because the more you overcomplicate things, the more costly it can get in relative terms. So if possible, like I said, standard, marketplace, read-only, and then if you really need it, we can also discuss why aren't you sharing this through other means with this person? Which one's more cost efficient? At the end, we would bring this comparison with full clarity so you can make a well-informed decision. That would be the hardest part, making that clear, but that is our job.
Next question, can you show us a small demo in the system or not?
This was built specifically for a client, so I cannot show this there. But if you come to our booth, I'm sure if we get your contact information, we'd be able to set up a demo for you.
Then next question: is this available on a module, and how much? And is it, or could it? And how could it be implemented? But yeah, I guess like, is it available in a module?
This, like I said, a part of our job is to build custom modules for clients where they also have other customizations. So it would be, it is not one-to-one transferable, but we can definitely make it one specific to your needs, because we also have to consider how it fits into your existing system. But if you come to our booth, and if you mention, or you could just, like I said, get in touch with us via email, or come to our booth, you can just ask us, hey, I went to this talk, this is interesting, this is my business, we'll make one for you. And obviously, you won't be the first clients where we're doing this, so we would have had experience doing this. But we never want to give the advice of, hey, one solution fits all, use this identically as it is for you, because it also depends on which apps you want to use it on. If it's for CRM and leads, I imagine that will translate a lot easier, but we will be happy to help you out.
All right, thanks. Here I have quite a long question, so I will try to make it clear. In the end, does your customer solution look like a clearly defined group per company? So for example, a user can be inventory admin in company A, but inventory user in company B? Or does each user still have one group assigned with further conditional restriction?
Using groups, so if I'm understanding correctly, it's about asking groups, using groups instead of specific users.
Yeah, that's also what I saw.
So that should be possible. It's not the cases we built. In the cases we built, this is more of an outlier case, but if you approach us, we'd be happy to. We have a specific team dedicated to finding out whether your needs are suitable and what the cost of ownership could be for the specific feature for you before we start the project. So based on your needs, we'd help you out. We tend to not give, oh, we have this one solution, fits for everyone. That's not a recommendation we tend to give, so come talk to us. We're here for you at the booth, and if you do not have time, reach out via email.
All right, I think we're good with the questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you.